Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This is part of our SpotOn Series. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom-and-pop restaurants. To learn more, go to SpotOn.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through Done-For-You podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build great relationships with clients, referral partners, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25media.com or email us at support@rise25media.com. Ron Nussbacher is founder and CEO at Shouk, a plant-based fast casual chain and food company in Washington, D.C. Ron is a former clean tech executive out to save the world through our lunch hour. With 3 locations in the Washington, D.C. area, Shouk is obsessed with real food, bold flavors, and the power of tahini. Ron, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
Happy to be here. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit more about Shouk. What can customers expect when they go there?
We're a little bit of a different beast, so to speak. We are, as you mentioned, 100% plant-based, and which is kind of new and fun to begin with. But even in the category of plant-based fast casual, we're very different than pretty much anybody else that you see there, in the sense that we are obsessed with using real food and real ingredients. So you're not going to find Beyond Burgers or Impossible Burgers on our menu. Everything is made using actual products that you can see and recognize, and we're all about celebrating the actual vegetables.
As far as I can tell, your professional background has primarily been in sales and business development. How did Shouk come about?
So, interesting story. I have spent a bunch of years in the tech world, in sales roles. My most recent experience was in the clean tech world, where we were working with utility companies to get individuals in their homes to change how we use energy, to make small changes like start turning off the lights when you leave the room, or switch to cold water when you launder. Changes that, for the individual person or household were not that impactful, certainly not something you may notice on your bill, but aggregated across millions of people all over the US, we are able to reduce energy waste and literally remove power plants off the grid, which was a powerful experience in the sense that it showed me that you can find a way to impact what I call micro behaviors, small individual behaviors, that when aggregated, when scaled up, can lead to meaningful societal change. And for me personally, climate change is a hot topic. It's what I care deeply about, and the connection between our food system and climate change is very, very strong. I think the strongest there is. So having seen this experience in energy, I set out to create Shouk as a way to change behaviors, if you will, around our lunch hour, right? And the idea is that if we can get you to once a week, couple times a week, choose a plant-based lunch, a veggie burger instead of a real burger, or a cauliflower pita instead of a pizza, and we can do that a million times over, then all of a sudden we have major impact on climate change metrics, we have major impact on human health, and we're saving a bunch of animals along the way.
How did you come up with the recipes and ideas for your dishes?
So Shouk means market. Shouk is the Hebrew word for market, and it kind of tells you a little bit about our origins. Culinarily, and from just a brand energy perspective, we are rooted in the most exciting open-air markets that are found all over the Middle East and Israel. It's an area of the world that loves vegetables, love beans. It's not a vegetarian society per se, but we know, and I say we because I'm from there, we know how to make them sing, how to make them flavorful. Very different than the American traditional approach to vegetables, which is overcooked broccoli in the side of my steak.
Yeah.
And so the Shouk philosophy harkens back to that part of the world, to those markets, where we draw inspiration. We're kind of our own play, our own fusion on some of the traditional flavors and combinations. But and it's all homegrown. We take stuff that we know from our childhood, and we mix it with new stuff, and we come up with exciting combinations that we like.
Can you kind of set the scene for those markets? I saw that the food is inspired from some of the most exciting street markets. Can you kind of describe what those markets are like for maybe for an American who hasn't been there?
Yeah. The first thing they hit you with actually are the sounds. As you approach the market, you'll hear the market. The sellers in their stalls are singing and yelling and advertising their wares and are joking with customers. Very informal, fun environment. So as you get close, the next thing that'll hit you are colors. It's just very, very colorful. And color is indicative to me of real food. Real food looks fantastic. It is colorful. All different shapes and sizes. And then the next thing that'll hit you is the scent of the fresh produce. So it's really just mounds of produce anywhere and spices. And it's all this sensory, almost like a sensory overload, right? As you walk through these markets. And to me, obviously freshness is a big thing that you experience there, but also just the integrity of the food. You see where your food is coming from, right? It's not some black box, hidden. It's not the supermarket. It puts you in direct contact with the source of your food and the source of real food. And it's that energy that we created Shouk.
The Shouk Burger has been featured on the Food Network. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So the Shouk Burger is kind of our answer to the whole veggie burger craze, and more specifically, I'd say the Shouk Burger is the anti-Impossible Burger. It's the anti-Beyond Meat. Not in the sense that those are not wonderful products that should exist, but our particular approach is, it's about the real food, right? So the Shouk Burger, unlike an Impossible Burger, is made from vegetables and grains and beans only. And we even make sure not to grind it all into a mush, because we want you to see its components as you're eating through it. So it's made 100% from real food. It's got about 15 different ingredients in it. And the flavor profile, the seasoning in it, harken back to the Middle East, to Israel, to those markets. Very, very kind of Middle Eastern flavor profile to it. That's, we came up with it because we felt there wasn't a good answer for people who wanted a satisfying veggie burger experience, but we're looking for something that was not as processed.
How did you kind of know what to put in, like all these separate ingredients? How did you know what to put in that would end up making a good burger?
It's part art and part science, like everything. Months and months of R&D, visiting all the most acclaimed restaurants and places that serve veggie burgers around the country, and kind of seeing what we liked and didn't like about them. A lot of what traditional veggie burgers suffer from, are that they're dry, they fall apart, they're not as flavorful. And so we kind of sought ingredients to help remedy a lot of that. For example, our burgers does not fall apart, and one of the secrets to it is flaxseed that we use almost like a glue or a binder, which also has the added benefit of being fantastically healthy and good for you.
So not only is your food plant-based, but you guys make great efforts towards sustainability. Can you tell me about some of those?
Yeah, we're obsessed with that. It's huge for us. If you're going to create a business with the mission of helping to fight climate change, you can't just focus on the food. We have to try and make sure that every aspect of our business is as sustainable as possible. And we constantly put new goals in front of ourselves. So what we're doing today is, the biggest sources of waste, of course, in a business like ours is packaging. The to-go and delivery business is strong and a fast casual. And so we have to use a lot of single-use packages. So how do we make those not as harmful? In a couple of ways, we invest as much as possible in plastic alternatives, and specifically in paper and cardboard wherever we possibly can. And the latest example of that is that we have switched from plastic-like biodegradable cutlery to actually that made out of wood. which we think is, of the all the options is the most sustainable out there. So, it costs us more, but we feel that's the right answer. So wooden cutlery is kind of one way in which we live our values and also engage our customers in the same. Our stores run on wind power. We have a partnership with a company called Arcadia Power, and through them we're able to provide wind power for all of our stores. So 100% of electricity is from wind. That's another way in which we are sustainable in operation. The third way is that we actually invite our customers to assist us. So I mentioned before that we invest in biodegradable and paper products instead of plastic wherever we possibly can. It's not enough, in our opinion, to just use something made out of wood. We have to close the loop. How do we close the loop? We plant a tree. So when you come online on our app or website to order, we'll invite you, to donate $1, to add $1 to your order, and we'll take that dollar and plant a tree. In fact, just earlier today, I kind of tallied up all the trees we planted in the last few months, and it was about 1,200 trees that we planted, or our customers rather, planted as part of this program.
What were the early days at Shouk like when you had your first brick and mortar location?
Interesting. I mean, at that time, this goes back about 5 years ago, 2016. That was before plant-based kind of exploded on the scene in the same way that it is now. It was still a bit weird. And here we are, starting not only is it, a kind of ethnically slightly exotic flavor profile, fast casual, but also happens to be 100% plant-based. As you might imagine, it took a bit of a learning curve on part of our customers. People were initially, raising an eyebrow, weren't sure what that was all about. But we were committed to just leading with the flavor experience and putting food in their mouths. And that really was all it took. We started seeing people kind of, after allowing themselves to kind of go nuts and try us for the first time, become regulars.
Is there something that you did or do to kind of convince people who are used to having a beef burger to give your burger a try or to give your food a try?
It's actually the opposite of that. It's not about doing something, but it's about not doing something. There are certain things that we deliberately don't do that really are the driving force behind that. So if you think about it, increasingly people are making the connection between what they put in their bodies and their health, between our food system and the environment, and they care. And many people do want to incorporate more vegetables into their diets. Thing is, they don't know how to do it, or their previous experience with vegetarian food has been boring or unsatisfying, and I don't blame them. So there's a lot of, there's still, to some degree, I think some barriers, some negative connotations with somebody walking into a plant-based restaurant. So the trick is to remove those barriers. How do you do that? First and foremost, you create a brand like Shouk that does not espouse veganism or vegetarianism, and you're not really gonna see that in your in-store experience or as you engage with the brand. We're not about pushing that on you. We're not going to even talk that much about that fact, and we're not going to lecture you. So you just walk into a restaurant because it's delicious and because the flavor profile is compelling, and it doesn't say anything about you or your diet decisions by having walked into Shouk. The second part is the food. I mentioned earlier that we are committed to using real food, real ingredients, not processed stuff, and I think that's actually a rare key component to our success, because I think, in my experience, people who do eat meat and animal products otherwise want to incorporate more vegetables into their diets. They're really looking for something new and incremental, additive, not necessarily, an imitation of something they can otherwise get. So by offering a menu that's differentiated and it's more natural, we've actually seen great success with the mediums.
So you opened a kind of a first-time restaurant, a new concept, maybe one that was, definitely unusual or different than anything else you'd find. How did you know that it was time to expand to a new location, and what kind of got you to that point?
The short answer has always been the plan. I mean, we didn't start this to do just one of these. You know, our mission is to change how we eat and to fight climate change. To make good on our mission, we have to have size, right? We have to be able to touch a lot of people and feed a lot of people. So scale has always been part of the plan, and really we kind of moved as quickly as we could. It wasn't really a decision point. It was always obvious.
What kind of learning curve was there in terms of breaking into the restaurant industry? I'm sure you were very successful in your previous endeavors, but the restaurant industry, from everybody I've talked to, can be a different beast. Was there kind of a learning curve, or maybe mistake that might have been made that was a tremendous learning experience? What can you tell me about that?
How much time do you have? It is the learning curve continues. I mean, it's a very unique beast. I often liken the restaurant world to if you've taken some of the more challenging elements of various industries and put them together, you get the restaurant world, right? You have like essentially a small factory using highly perishable ingredients, making products on demand, selling them to the customer. The opportunities for challenge in that value chain are profound. Listen, there isn't one area. I mean, it's everything from labor management to the supply chain management, all areas in which, in this area of COVID are heightened and even become more intense that we're dealing with. So it's really along the value chain. There's plenty of opportunities to make mistakes and plenty of opportunities to get better and smarter, and it's a constant evolution.
How has you just mentioned COVID? How has COVID affected maybe your operations or the way you guys do business?
Sure, it's it's an interesting story for us. We've always been very, given my background, we've always been very tech forward as a company, even at a very young age, which thankfully served us well when COVID came around. The specific story I'll tell you is that of our hood drops, which is a program that we came up with literally within days of the market here in the DC area closing back in March of 2020. And having downtown stores at the time only, we saw our customer base evaporate overnight. Literally, all these offices that we used to serve for lunch were gone, were empty. And we said, what do we do now? How do we keep our staff? How do we keep our company? And we said, you know what? Well, if our customers can't come to us anymore, let's find a way to go to them. And the majority of them, who work in downtown DC, live in the suburbs, 20, 30 minutes away. We said, you know what, we have this wonderful technology, this app that we invested in. What if we created these virtual locations and invite people to pick up a Shouk dinner, literally get a takeout, but instead of taking it out from our downtown location, they'll just have to, drive 5 minutes to their neighborhood pool or church or synagogue. And so we started doing this. We reached out to the community. We said, hey, 5:30 Tuesday, meet us at the pool, go on this link, order your dinner. We'll be there with it. And it exploded. And through the use of technology, a little bit of creativity and some grit, all of a sudden we were serving neighborhoods, 3 to 4 neighborhoods a day, 7 days a week, and managed not only to replace the business we lost, but actually add to it. So that's been kind of our COVID success story. And an interesting byproduct of that was that through working in these new communities, we were able to test markets for future brick and mortar expansion, which we've now acted
on. Wow, that's a great story. Well, do you have what are some of your goals moving forward?
We're growing. You mentioned we have 3 locations today. By the end of this year, we'll be at 6 locations in the DC area. So we're accelerating our growth, and we plan on continuing to accelerate that going forward, adding more and more units every year, and eyeing an expansion beyond the DC market as soon as 2023. The other area that we're investing in, which is pretty new to us, is we recently launched a consumer packaged good, which is the same Shouk Burger we talked about, but kind of sized and formatted for the retail markets. We launched that last September. initially as a direct-to-consumer offering. People can get online and order it. Now we started placing it on shelves in grocery stores around our region as well. So it's a new area for us. That's cool.
Okay, great. How can people find out more about that and just about Shouk in general?
Everything is on the web at www.shouk.com, shouk.com.
Okay, sounds good. I'll have to check that out. Thank you so much, Ron. It's been great to talk to you. Best wishes moving forward.
Thank you for having me.
So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.